Here now with their thoughts on Apple's earnings and the prospects overall, Max Wolff, senior analyst at Green Crest Capital, and Greg Abella, portfolio manager at Investment Partners Asset Management. Welcome to you both. Max, let me begin with you. These numbers on certainly the bottom line were a positive surprise here, but there were some worries on market share in the iPhone marketplace and also on gross margins. Take us through those.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to join you and to be with you, Tyler. I think that the big story in the sort of handset and the tablet space, and the tablet space was quite disappointing. So they came in about $3.5 million below our expectation. But a good quarter, credit where it's due, a good pushback against the sort of irrational bears who think the company's washed up or finished, which is, of course, not the case. In fact, the company's cheap and it has bright prospects. 31 million phones sold, excellent, although a lot of them look like they were the 4 and the 4S, hence the high offshore portion of the phone sales that they made. But this is really a story, first and foremost, the handset business, about two things: margin and market share. And there the story's a little bit less good. So Android is the dominating operating system. That's not about to change. It didn't change this quarter. And the margins came down, albeit from 43% to about 36%. Still the best margins in the business, and Apple still takes home more than half the total profit in the mobile space.
Well, what is, Greg, let's get you in the conversation. What does all of this mean for Apple stock? So many investors are not sure, should I be buying at $419 or selling into the rally, perhaps?
Well, this is really a stock of inflection points. If you look back 1 year ago, this is a company that couldn't do anything wrong. The earnings estimates were, 50% higher than they are now. And, they set the bar so low, I think, this time that they couldn't help but beat. The phone count, as Max put it, would certainly exceed it, and I think that that's going to boost sort of a relief in the shares. But I don't think this is a stock that's going to march its way straight back to 700 anytime soon. But it would just looked very washed out to me at 6 to 7 times forward earnings, ex cash.
Well, let's get both of your views on where you think the stock can go. Max, let's start with you. Where do you think this stock is, let's say, a year from now?
I mean, it depends a little bit to the other point there that it really has to do a little bit with how iOS 7, the new operating system, works out and what we see for a broader range of iPhone 5S or iPhone 6 coming. That being said, this is a $475 to $525 share price. That's where it should be, given the cash, given the buyback.
Something out, and I'm not going to name any names, but then they write $1 billion of them off a couple of quarters later. They don't tend to do that.
But can Apple and Tim Cook come out with that cool next gadget, whether it's a phone or a TV or a watch, whatever it is? It seems like, has it lost its mojo?
I don't think that it has. They've had their time in the barrel, and every tech stock sort of gets that way, and thank goodness, because that's a great opportunity for us. But in terms of what they're looking forward to, I would imagine that there'll be some penetration to the living room. There really has to be. They're just in the battle for eyeballs to deliver content for the time you wake up.
Final thought, Max. What should they do with all that cash? Buy back more stock? Pay a higher dividend? What?
Well, we've seen them try to do some things. I think we got to be honest, too. Their last major new product, to some extent, was a major flop, too. There was the whole Maps fiasco. They can't have that again. Very quietly, in the last 2 weeks, they've bought 2 other mapping companies. Looks like they're going to take another bite at the Apple. I really do think the go-forward story for Apple has to be, can they hold what they're good at? And that's a lot of things with a lot of revenue behind them. And can they get iOS 7 right? If they really get this right, we're going to be talking about a $550 to $600 story in 6 to 12 months. If they don't, they're going to have trouble defending 425.
Got to leave it there, guys. Max Wolff of Green Crest Capital, Greg Abella, thanks very much. Investment Partners Asset Management.